Hello! How's it going, friends? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. So I know this is crazy, but not everybody has a massive fragrance collection, a huge cologne collection. And some of you out there may want just 1 or 2 fragrances that you can wear pretty much all year round. Whether we're talking daytime, nighttime, spring, summer, fall, winter, you want something that can get the job done, but you only want maybe 1 fragrance or 2 fragrances, something that has a ton of versatility just baked right in. Well, today I have 15 different fragrances that can do that for you. Fragrances that you can use all year long. I'll have all of these linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. And also, if you would like some codes, pause the video. I have some codes for you to save you money at Lucky Scent, Twisted Lily, Max Aroma, Beauty the Shop, So Avant-Garde, and I don't even know, man. There's so many codes. There's a new code at Max Aroma. It's Gents 20, by the way. That'll get you 20% off of your order. There are a few brands that won't work for, so if it doesn't work for the brand you're shopping for, Gents 10, 10% off. Gents 20 is better though, so try that one first. All right, let's jump into the fragrances, no particular order. We got some niche and a bunch of designer. I'm gonna kick things off with Christian Dior's Dior Homme 2020. Now, Dior Homme 2020 is a fragrance that I feel like just has almost unmatched versatility. This is perfect in so many different situations. More formal situations, casual situations, date night, whatever, this can get the job done. This replaced what is now known as Dior Homme Original, which is a fragrance that was based heavily around the note of iris, which this pretty much just got completely rid of. Just kind of, all right, see you later, Iris. Thank you so much. Which is interesting because now Iris has had like a renaissance and so many different men's fragrances have Iris, but Dior wanted to do something different, I guess. And I should say that when it comes to fragrances and year-round use, you can usually pull off, almost anything out there as long as you understand how the fragrance works off your skin. So that means if it's a little weaker and you need it to last longer, maybe it's very cold outside, spray more. If it's very hot outside, you're gonna be around a lot of people, maybe spray less. So that's something that you kind of have to figure out on your own, unfortunately. You know, fragrances will work differently for different people. Some people will say, oh, this one is so strong off my skin, and other people will be like, oh, it's gone in 10 minutes. So keep that in mind. You can pull off almost, there are exceptions, almost everything year round, depending on what you're doing and how much you spray. After that, another fairly obvious one, Eros from Versace. Eros is extremely popular. If you know anything about men's fragrances, you've gone shopping for them or just paid any attention at all, you've seen this at some point, probably smelled it, possibly own it. It was pigeonholed for a while as a club fragrance, as a night out fragrance, because it is quite sweet and it has good performance. So it can be loud if you spray a lot of it on. So if you're going into a club and you want to get noticed, you know, you could wear something like this and go heavy, and then people are gonna definitely notice. But Eros has great versatility, and this one makes a perfect office fragrance. A lot of people may not think of it as one, but I used it for a long time as an office fragrance, and it worked really well. Just don't go crazy with the trigger in those situations. But yeah, really pleasant mint and vanilla in here. Perfect fragrance if you're looking for some positive attention. Now I'm gonna go with a niche fragrance, and this one is kind of a placeholder. I'll explain. It's Raja Parfum Vetiver Parfum Cologne. The reason I have this in here as a placeholder is because this represents vetiver, okay? Vetiver fragrances, there are tons of them out there, both cheap and expensive. So with this spot in the video, I'm basically telling you, find a vetiver fragrance that works for you. There are many different ways that vetiver can come across depending on the type of vetiver and how it's used. So some vetiver is going to be sparkly and fresh and clean and woody. Other times vetiver may come across very dry, grassy, smoky, sometimes even earthy. Again, it depends on the type of vetiver and how it's used. So you have fragrances like Tom Ford's Gray Vetiver. You have Sultan Vetiver from Nishane. You have Vetiver Sensual from Mancera. You have Guerlain Vetiver. You have this Raja Parfum Vetiver. There's so many out there. So basically here, as I said, vetiver. Find one that works for you. So again, there's a lot of them out there. Do a little research, check it out. Vetiver though is a note that some people are scared away from, so keep that in mind. After that, Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Beau. So this is going to be considered more of a summertime fragrance for a lot of people, but I think it has enough heft to it, enough oomph to it that it can work really well during the winter. And this is one thing that I do want to drive home. A lot of times summer fragrances smell awesome in the winter. Something about the cold air will just make them so much fresher. And a lot of times their performance might actually surprise you in the winter, and they'll last really well and project well also. So just because something's a summer fragrance, don't pigeonhole it. Wear it during the winter. For that matter, wear a winter fragrance during the summer. Okay, back to this one. It's got a tropical feel to it. This coconut in there makes it a really unique kind of standalone designer men's fragrance. You're not gonna find too many things out there that smell like this, but it still does have a great compliment factor, and it doesn't come across smelling like women's suntan lotion, which sometimes with coconut fragrances, you have to be aware of. There's also Le Beau Le Parfum, so if you want a slightly darker version of this, check that out also. Either one of those would work really well. After that, Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. Now this is probably the most obvious choice out of anything that I'm gonna talk about here today. Bleu de Chanel, especially the Eau de Parfum, also the Eau de Toilette, are basically fragrances that you can wear anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you want to dumb it down to the most like simplistic way possible, you know, where you don't have to think about literally anything. You just grab it, spray, and go. Bleu de Chanel is probably a good choice. You should at least check it out. It is a blue fragrance. It has a nice classiness to it like you would expect from Chanel, but it also has that modern, masculine freshness with a nice bit of woodiness as it dries in incense. It's really high quality, at least when we're comparing it to the other designer blue fragrances out there. No shots at them, of course. After that, a scent that is maybe a little bit more under the radar unless you are into fragrances, and it's Lacoste L'Homme Intense. Now, a lot about this fragrance looks cheap, and I've said this before when I brought this fragrance up, but the bottle itself, just very plain Jane. The cap weighs nothing. You know, there's nothing here that screams out to you quality. And if you see this sitting on a shelf, you know, with all these other much more attention-grabbing bottles, you're probably gonna walk right by it. And it's also from Lacoste, which is, you know, let's be real, a house that does not have the same street cred, we'll say, behind it as a Chanel, or a Versace, or a Dior, or a Jean Paul Gaultier, if we're talking designers. But this is actually a really, really good anytime fragrance. Yeah, it smells way better than you would expect. In the past, you could pick this up for under $30. Unfortunately, a little pricier nowadays from discounters, but still worth it. Just a very easygoing fragrance. Like I said, not many people are gonna be wearing, but it gets the job done. Now another one that also, like this, a little under the radar, and this fragrance, it's past its prime as far as people wearing it and people really knowing about it. So it becomes like a fragrance that can be sort of almost a hidden gem nowadays, sort of, in a way, kind of. It's gentlemen only. So nowadays, they have gentlemen Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum, Gentleman Boisé, Reserve Privé, Cologne, and the new one, Gentleman Society. So you've got the whole gentleman line. This was the line before that, which is pretty much killed off now, but Gentlemen Only kicked that off. And then there were many flankers that came after this, which are all pretty hard to find nowadays. You pretty much have to look on eBay. But this is a great anytime fragrance. Really classy, very easy to pull off. It's an aromatic, woody fragrance with nice kind of fresh spices in there and a bit of incense. Not heavy on the incense, but just enough to give it an extra push when it's cold outside. It is a scent that's a little bit more on the subtle side, unless you go heavy with the trigger, but it's perfect for the office, casual situations, or any situation you find yourself in where you don't want to be the cologne guy. You just want to have something that smells classy, elegant, and has that little touch of appeal to it, you know, that's going to draw people in. Let's go back to niche with Citra Boisé from Mancera. Now this almost kind of a placeholder also. Any Aventus style fragrance, we'll say that. So that's kind of what you could put here. I've chosen to put Citra Boisé, but you could put Scent of Peace for Him by Bond No. 9. You could put bond9.com by bond9. You could put Mont Blanc Explorer, you could put actual Aventus, you could put Intense de Reposé. Look, you could put a lot of things here, but if it's Aventus E, if it's been compared to Aventus ever, essentially, yeah, that means you could probably wear it about whenever you want. Now, Cedrat Boisé is quite affordable from discounters for a niche fragrance. It's not very pricey. You get 120 mils, so it's a pretty good deal on top of the good price. You're getting 20 milliliters more than a typical bottle size. It's got a really nice scent profile to it. Big fruity blast off the top, quite sweet. And as it dries down, you have a nice leather note that comes out, but it's not an animalic funky leather. Keeps things, as I said, very wearable, easy going. It's strong though, really strong. Killer all year fragrance though. Let's keep it moving. Mr. Burberry Indigo. Mr. Burberry, look at you making an appearance. So for those of you that weren't around when the first Mr. Burberry came out, it was really hyped before release. The perfumer, Francis Kurkdjian, massive, massive perfumer, who is now the in-house perfumer of Dior. And also, of course, owns and perfumes for Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Obviously, not really any late breaking news there, but. So Mr. Burberry coming out from this house, getting a new bottle style with this little nice bow with that perfumer, and it was a blue fragrance on top of it. Everyone was like, oh, look at this. Look at this, Burberry gonna be competing with Sauvage, competing with Bleu de Chanel. And then it came out and, no good. It kind of flopped. And Indigo is a fragrance that I really like. It's a green fragrance, quite green, which with all the fragrances coming out nowadays makes it somehow more modern. Because like green is the new blue. Green fragrances are popping up everywhere, and that has a great green touch to it, a good amount of mint. Aromatics in there, kind of an herbal feel, very clean, very classy. Indigo was overlooked when it came out. I think it still smells great, and it would be a really interesting choice, I feel like, for a year-round scent, versatile scent, even signature scent potentially. After that, YSL, why live? I say it every time. Why live? Why live? I still don't know how that made it through, where they were like, we need a new name for this flanker. Johnson, go. Johnson, you're onto something. Why live, but change it, it's why live. Johnson, you're fired. It is a really, really pleasant fragrance though. It got kind of Invictus-y sort of aspects to it, you know, like little bits of Paco Rabanne's Invictus mixed together with the Y DNA. And it comes out smelling really good, like I said. I'm not a huge fan of Invictus, but a lot of Invictus style fragrances I actually kind of mess with, and this is one of them. This is just a crazy attention grabber as well. It does have sweetness though. Good amount of sweetness. Of course, you're talking Y, and like I said, kind of Invictus. Both of those are sweet, and this one certainly is. Keep that in mind. If you don't like that type of stuff, you may not like this, but this is a bomb. Back to niche. 8 and Bob. Now, 8 and Bob has kind of a backstory to it. So the house says that this is the fragrance that JFK wore. Yes, that JFK. So the story goes, which you can read on their website, even at the bottom of the website, the 8 and Bob website, it says like that the story is fictional, or there are fictional aspects to the story, like the whole friggin' thing. Just throw all that out, okay? JFK stuff, just get that out of here. We don't need to think about that. The scent itself, easygoing, fresh, woody, with sort of a vanilla backing, ambergris as well. And it does make a pretty good signature scent because it does have that all season wearability. It's not too heavy for summertime, but it's not too light for winter. And it does have, as you would expect of a fragrance that's being marketed as a JFK fragrance, a good amount of class to it as well. And it's not too expensive for a niche fragrance, so there's a lot to like about it. Then we got Ralph's Club Elixir. New one. Just got this one in not that long ago, and it surprised me actually because of the freshness off the top. I was expecting it to be heavier than it is, but no. Ooh, yeah, nice. It's got a really zingy, like I said, fresh iris opening. Lightly creamy, not too heavy at all. So this one is like a meeting of two fragrances, a very fresh opening with a good amount of iris. As it dries down, the iris kind of fades away and it takes on more of a deep blue fragrance vibe. Really dig it. Follow that up with Bentley Silver Lake, which is basically Bentley saying, I like Aqua de Joe. I want my own Aqua de Joe. Blah, there it is. Actually, come to think of it, it's been a while since we've got a new Bentley fragrance for men, hasn't it? From this line, I mean. It's been a minute. Silver Lake's the last one, unless I'm completely missing something. So this is a little Aqua de Joe, Essenza E, which is quite expensive nowadays, discontinued, difficult to find. And so with this one, you're going to get, well, I guess what you would expect when I tell you it smells kind of Aqua de Joe, right? Fresh, aquatic, clean, kind of a green touch to it. Not too sweet, a little bit salty. It's a great, great summertime fragrance, but as I said earlier in the video, just because it's made more for summertime doesn't mean it won't work very well during the winter, and that one does. Almost at the end, friends, Ferragamo. I got it as a tester. I've tried to stop cheaping out getting testers, but sometimes the deal is too good. It's like, hey man, look at this tester. It's 25 bucks less than the full presentation. Then I get it in and I'm like, I saved 25 bucks. There's no cap. So yeah, I got no cap on my Ferragamo. This new Ferragamo line does get overlooked. They're not always super easy to find at discounters in the US. Some of the flankers actually have been fantastic, and then you just can't find them. This is the fragrance that kicked this line off. Leather is one of the main notes here. It's a sweet leather, not dirty. There's violet in here as well, so kind of a violet leather combination. And when you hear that, if you're throwing it back a bit, you may think, oh, Fahrenheit, a little Dior Fahrenheit? No, not really. Fahrenheit, of course, the violet leather comes across like gasoline. You don't get that here at all. Also, keeping with current trends, good amount of sage in here off the top and some citrus. Some people have drawn comparisons to Versace Eros with this one. I don't think it smells super close to Eros at all, but it does give you similar wearability as Eros. Last but not least, Invictus Platinum. Could also go with Carolina Herrera Bad Boy Cobalt because they smell really similar. Came out the same year and everything. So this one has a bit more freshness than you may expect if you're familiar with the Invictus line. A lot of them are very sweet, and the new Victory fragrances from Invictus are quite warm as well. So they're really winter time specific, those two, Victory and Victory Elixir. This though has a great green freshness. It does have a bit of sweetness, keeping in line with the Invictus line, but it doesn't go like full on bubblegum, syrupy, heavy sweet. And that gives this great wearability year round. So there we go, 15 fragrances. I talked forever. Sorry about that. All of these, I think, with proper care and proper sprays, you can pull off year round. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.